All right, now we're going to use the distributive property to multiply a binomial by a trinomial. Here's our binomial, 2x plus 3, and here's our trinomial, 3x squared minus 5x plus 2. Always important to keep an eye on the signs, your positives, your negatives. And like I said, multiplying by the distributive property is a little bit messier, sometimes more confusing, but everybody has their way of looking at stuff, so I like to show all the methods. When you distribute the binomial to the trinomial, just think about like we did the FOIL. We're going to take the first term and multiply it by each term inside the trinomial. So take your 2x, multiply it by 3x squared. I'm going to do that first. 2 times 3 is 6. X times x squared is x cubed. Now let's take our 2 and we're going to distribute it to the middle term of the trinomial. 2x times negative 5x. That's going to be negative 10x squared. Finally, we're going to distribute our 2x to the final term, so 2x times 2. All the way down over here, 2x times 2 gives us a 2x. 2 times 2 is 4, make that a 4x. So we've done our first term, multiplied it to all three terms in our trinomial. Now we're going to do our second term. We're going to multiply our 3 by each term. Same thing applies. Pay attention to your signs. I've got a positive here, positive, negative, positive. So keep going. 3 distributed to your first term. 3 times 3, that's 9. So we have a positive 9x squared. 3 times negative 5, negative 15. Don't forget your x, negative 15x. And finally distribute your 3 to the 2, the final term. 3 times 2 is 6. They're both positives. Now take a look. We're almost done there. We've got all the multiplication, but you can see there's a lot of terms here. We've got some cubes, we got some squares, and we got some singles. You got to combine those. You can't just leave it like this. The whole point is to simplify, make it as rational, as logical as possible. So we're going to take a look at each of our terms in standard form and combine anything that we have alike. Always start with your highest exponent first, which in this case is cubed, 6x cubed. Do we see any more cubes in this expression? Squared, no, to the first, squared to the first. So 6x cubed is simply just 6x cubed. Now let's take a look at our squares. Any time we have an x squared or any variable squared, I've got a negative 10x squared and I got a positive 9x squared. So we're going to combine those two. They both have the same variable and they both have the same exponent. So negative 10x squared plus 9x squared gives us a negative 1x squared. You don't have to write the 1, just always remember, of course, that it's there. Moving forward to our first power terms, 4x and negative 15x. Well, negative 15 plus 4 gives us a negative 11x. And finally, our 6. There's no other coefficients without variables or exponents, so that stays a positive 6. 6x cubed minus x squared minus 11x plus 6. There you have it. That's how you use the distributive property to multiply a binomial by a trinomial.